the Charger Career Connect platform podcasts extravaganza. How's that, Christine?
Works for me.
So, Christine Huber, you are 2000. You got out 2000 with a sport management degree. You played 2 sports at UNH. So there's not a lot of us that have come through those doors at North Campus that actually were glutton for punishment like you. that played.
I got it twice around.
You did. So soccer, women's hoops.
Yeah, I played soccer, women's basketball. Yep.
Yeah. So and you did a lot in basketball. We'll get into that. I want you to talk about your career, but sport management was your degree. You got in really when it started to kind of blow up, and then you got your MBA after that at SNU. But so talk about your career. Talk about your career from the time that you left UNH, your business career. The time you left UNH, your discovery process along the way to where you are right now. So how did all those pieces and building blocks lead to where you are today?
Yeah, well, I think the big thing you mentioned there is business, right? It's sports management degree, but it's really business. And as we know, sports is a business. So when I left New Haven, I actually went up, got a full-time coaching job up at Colby College up in Maine, where I'm originally from. Kind of bounced around coaching a little bit. And when I moved back here, I actually got a job with my former University of New Haven assistant coach, Steve Coxon. And so I was running a sports facility in the New Haven area. And then, I was ready to leave there. I kind of hit the top of the ceiling there. And Steve was like, hey, I have a job for you. I want you to run a sports facility basically from the very beginning. I said no, probably about 5 times. And then finally I was like, all right, let's do this.
Was it because, and maybe he's probably not going to watch this, but was it because you didn't want to work for him, or was it just the business of running a facility that you didn't really want to deal with?
It was kind of the unknown, I think, a little bit. I knew the place beforehand and the guys that were running beforehand. It just kind of got really run down. And it wasn't back then, we're talking 15 years ago, sports facilities, soccer facilities, like private facilities like that. They're really just, a soccer guy who wants to keep playing. So he opens his own facility and turfs a garage, so to speak. Right. And then in 15 years, it's evolved so much. But back then, it was just really, really just ground roots. And honestly, nobody knew what they were doing.
Yeah. So let's take a step back because I want to talk about that a little bit more. But where was your mindset when you're a student athlete? And obviously, like a high performing 2 sports, you're crushing. I mean, you weren't just on the team. I mean, you're leading those teams. You made a major impact in a lot of people's lives, and you still do at the university. But where was your mindset? Like, why did you go get? For those students who are listening right now and deciding on whether they're going to get their master's or an MBA, like, why did you decide to get a continue going and get a degree? Did you feel like you needed it to get the edge, or was it something that was always a goal of yours?
Well, after I left Colby, I got offered the basketball job over at Southern New Hampshire. So I actually did my MBA on campus. I did it a little bit remote, but I did it while I was actually there on campus. I know myself, and once I got done with school, I was like, I can't sit in classrooms anymore or anything like that, which is why I chose, for my learning abilities, I chose to do it online. So that was kind of just the next step because kind of when most of us athletes come out of school and we want to start coaching, you kind of go the grad assistant route. And I kind of skipped that because I actually got a full-time job right out of school. So I kind of missed that whole thing. So then I jumped in, still coaching full-time, but was able to get my master's at the same time.
When you were in school, were you thinking about your career after? So were you saying, that professor, I really want them as a mentor, or your coach, or like, what was your planning like before you even left?
Well, I always thought I was just going to continue to play, pro sports after that. That's what we all think when we leave. And I kind of went that route, but you realize back then, pro women's soccer is definitely not paying the bills. You need to get a real job. And so I've always coached since I've been, probably in high school. I was always coaching the little kids. I always enjoyed it. And so through the years, I've done the college teams, I've done the high school teams, the premier teams, the club teams, everything like that. So I just kind of thought that was my way of giving back and staying involved in the game.
When you see these students coming out now, and I'm sure you've hired a lot of them, of our kids over at the facility, um, what kind of skills are you seeing that is like really transferable skills that you need right now? You know, things that these students could be doing if their seasons have been pushed over to the spring and they're trying to probably kill some time in the dorms and their apartments. What are those skills that they could develop right now, that skills that you look for to help with your business?
I think the big thing, and especially in the sports world, you have to have a personality. You have to be a people person. You can't be shy. You can't hide behind a computer all the time. That's not our job. We're very hands-on. Yesterday, just from walking through all my facilities and just doing tasks and going from here to there, I walked 8 miles. You know what I mean? Just running about and talking to people. I'm on the phone. I'm on the computer. And then you also have to be very personal with them. Like last night, we have Tuesday co-ed league. So I'm trying to go out, just kind of talk with the people that are playing. Hey, especially nowadays, hey, how everything's going? You feel safe? What can we do? What can we improve on? I always hated the idea of a suggestion box, because to me, a suggestion box means you can't find a manager or you can't find somebody to talk to. So I always want to get out and talk to everybody.
Well, that hasn't changed really in how I measure. So talk about mentors. I mean, I know Coach Mack has been probably in that role for a while, and how important
Yep.
have mentors helped you with your career?
Yeah, I mean, Joe Matnick is obviously a big influence in my life. He was my coach my freshman year for women's soccer at UNH. He then went off to MLS, but I was still running his camps across the country. For now, I think it's been about 22 years, 23 years I've been running his camps. And he's one of those guys, you learn a lot just by sitting back and watching him. He as you know, he walks into a room and he just kind of demands that presence just by walking in the room, and it's certainly not by his height, stature, by any mean.
Yeah,
but it's that, and one of the things that I definitely have learned, especially from the guys, is just keep your connections open. Never burn bridges. Always talk to someone. Always almost name drop. And if you're interested in something, find someone who's in that field. It's so much easier. When I know I get resumes, I 100% talk to the coach or talk to someone on campus or talk to their teacher, professor, or even look at their Facebook and kind of see like what type of person they actually are.
Yeah, mentoring. So that part of it, and networking and relationships. So let's shift gears a little bit, because I know that you're just an extremely hard worker. You're focused. You're not going to give up, right? You're going to
Yeah.
grind right through. Challenges. What challenges have you had in your business life, in your business career, and how did you overcome those challenges?
I think the toughest thing for me starting out is I was starting a facility as general manager from zero, from the ground up. And I mean, I learned so much those first few years, from, installing nets, installing turf, to the financials, to the budgets, this was something, we learned in classes, at UNH, but nothing throws it at you like the real world and the things that happen and pop up. And you just have to be in the sports world. You definitely can't be rigid. You have to be on the go, and you have to expect changes, and you have to expect things to go wrong. And it's how you handle them is what makes the outcome better.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's all about that mindset, positive attitude, and things that you've learned as a player. You have some losses and you come back the next day and you keep on going. Business and life is the same way, and
Yep.
I would just want to wish my wife will take some of that advice. She just won't listen to me. So you've been modest in when you talked about yourself a lot, but you've done a ton. And right now, how you've been able to leverage your relationships, leverage your mentors, leverage your experience, and the fact that you're willing to break down any door. You're a color commentator on I don't even know if I'm saying that right, on ESPN. So you do regional games. I've seen you do them. And so talk about that. Like, what led you down that path?
So this is a crazy story, and definitely a good one for our audience now. Is I did my internship, I think my senior year in college, or right before my senior college year, and I did it with Steve Kahn over at the Yale Sports Publicity Office. It was great. I basically wrote the football press books, did that type of stuff. And I realized that's not the route I want to go, because I didn't want to deal with the journalism part and the writing part. So here we fast forward, 20 years later. Steve Kong, I still always talk to him. His son works for me, and he's like, "Hey, I've got this job for you." And I'm like, "I'm not so sure about, if I'd be good. I'm going to be cursing. I'm going to say the wrong thing." And he's like, just meet with me. And so I met with the ESPN producer, and basically started out, I did all of Yale women's soccer home games. And then I kind of really started getting to like it. So I said, Steve, I said, I really like men's basketball. So then next thing I know, I'm doing all the Yale men's basketball games. And then the women kind of saw me. I filled in and did one of their games. And like, we want you for every game. So I was like, all right, I'll start doing the rest of the women's games as well. So it was great. It was such great. Wow. It's a different atmosphere. That's for sure. Basketball's crazy, right? You're front row. There's so much going on. I'm right next to the opposing coach. He's slamming stuff down, kicking chairs, as you see on TV, and things are flying by me. But you still have to like kind of maintain that focus and, and kind of be locked into the headset. People are talking to you in your headset. You're still trying to talk to your play-by-play guy. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. And obviously I was inked in to start this year as well. But everything's postponed for at least a little bit for now.
You're just a prime example of always push yourself, try something new, get uncomfortable, something like that, being on air. Next thing I know, I just kind of happened to run across you. Like, there's what's she doing? Yeah. Talk about advice, advice that you would, everything now in your life. This is the last question, by the way. Everything that you know now, this is the easy ones at the end, but everything that you know now in your life, everything that you experienced about overcoming challenges, really pushing yourself as a student athlete, as a business professional, going back to Christine at 18 years old down in a freshman dorm, kind of walking up the North Campus for the first time, everything you know now, what advice would you give to yourself back then?
Probably don't be a knucklehead. I think the big thing, no matter what it is, whether it's school, whether it's, relationships, whatever it is, don't stress out about it. As any basketball game, soccer game, anything like that, you never know which way the ball is going to fall, right? You could be down 3-0 in a soccer game, and all of a sudden things just start going your way if you have that will, if you have that determination. In the sports management world, again, things are just changing constantly. You can plan as much as you want, but I'm telling you, things are not going to work out that way. So you just have to, kind of go with the flow and be ready for the change.
Be ready to change. But so you're not going to be going anywhere with us. We're going to be dragging you back into our network here. And we certainly appreciate your time. So we will put it in underneath in the graphic, so you'll be able to see your contact information. But why don't you just tell people what's the best way to get in touch with you now?
Yeah, so right now I'm running the CFC Arena in Hamden and the CFC Park over in Bethany, which is not far from campus. So my email is info@cfcarena.com. You can reach me there. We're up. You follow me on Twitter, Huber33. I tend to tweet a lot of fantasy soccer jargon, so to speak, that I'm pretty involved in. But yeah, feel free to follow me or shoot me an email.
Christine, thank you for your time today. You're not going to be going anywhere. Working with us on this, you've been a big supporter of everything we've been doing, and I certainly appreciate your friendship and everything and taking the time. So I appreciate it.
Perfect. All right. Good luck, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Take care now.
All right. Bye-bye.